No, thank you. Sleeping. You come back in an hour.
Need sleepy.
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God!
It's now time for the Billy C. Morning Show, part of the Billy C. Boxing Network. Interact with the show at billycboxing.com.
And we're coming to you live from the Billy C. Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C. Morning Show. Good morning, everybody. Hope everybody's doing okay on this fine Monday morning, post-Triple G Daniel Jacobs fight. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located in beautiful St. Simons Island, Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. And don't forget, if you're heading north or south on I-95, you can swing by Sal's and enjoy delicious Italian cuisine with a 15-minute out-of-your-way detour. That's it. And trust me, once you do it once, once you do it one time, you'll do it all the time. Trust me. All the info, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by YouTube, our channel. If you're not watching us on YouTube, check it out. It's youtube.com/talkinboxing, TALKINBOXING.com. And speaking of watching us, I want to give a special shout out to all of our viewers on Fight TV. That's right. Check us out on Fight TV. Now, if you don't get Fight TV, download the app. You can watch Fight TV on your handheld. It's real easy. We can get it for you for free. All you got to do is go to Fight. That's FITE.tv/BillyC. Fight.tv/BillyC. Download the app. Watch it on your handheld, including your cell phone, and be in a position to get all the great fights at discount prices, especially the pay-per-views. Check it out. Fight.tv/BillyC. And today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all great books are sold. And you can literally get a copy of this book right now by visiting barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. Hey, listen, you want to get a signed copy? Don't worry about it. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book club section. Big fight this weekend. Triple G, Daniel Jacobs, a lot of discussion. I want to thank everybody that stopped by and enjoyed our post-fight show. As promised, we will be doing more and more post-fight shows after significant fights. Our next one, I think, is next weekend. Not this weekend coming up, but next weekend. Just to get you caught up, I got some emails to read. We got Dax Khan scheduled to come on. First and foremost, if you missed it, Triple G won a unanimous decision over Danny Jacobs to keep all of his belts. It was a close fight. I enjoyed the fight. I thought Daniel Jacobs did the right thing. He fought a smart fight. He fought a tactical fight, but he came up a little short. Two of the judges had the fight 115-112, and the third saw it the same way I did, 114-113, all in favor of Triple G. He improves to 37-0 with 34 knockouts. Daniel Jacobs broke his concurrent knockout streak. He had 23 in a row going into this fight. So now he's got to start that clock a-ticking again. Now, in the undercard, we saw an upset. Roman Chocolito Gonzalez loses for the first time in his career. He drops to 46-1 when he lost a 12-round majority decision to Thailand's fighter. I apologize right now because I know I'm going to murder his name like I did all weekend. But Suriskat Sor Rungvisal, he improved to 42 wins, 4 losses, and a draw, with 38 of his wins coming by knockout. The way the judges scored that, well, two saw it 114-112 in favor of Rung Vizal. And one judge had it even at 113-113. There's been a lot of discussion on this fight, specifically from people that claim to be experts. Like one of the worst, and let me say it again, one of the worst referees in the history of boxing, Joe Cortez, the BS guy. I'm fair, but I'm firm. He was an awful, awful referee. I don't know why anybody even listens to him, let alone him teaching new referees. His BS style, you can count on one hand how many times he almost had a fighter seriously injured. I could say you count on one hand how many times he could have had somebody killed in the ring by not knowing what the hell he's doing, and counting on all your fingers and toes how many times he had horrific outings as a referee. But Joe Cortez claims that the judges got the fight wrong. Listen, I know a lot of people feel that Chocolatito won the fight. He took a beating in that fight, though, boys and girls. Let's face it. Even though he was landing some beautiful counterpunches and his accuracy was there as usual, Rung Vizal, he was nailing him with the hard shots. I mean, he busted him up bad. I know that the headbutt caused a couple of cuts, not one, but two cuts to continuously stream blood down the face of Chocolatito. But the bottom line is he was getting hammered. I thought that he lost the fight. I thought the Thai fighter won the fight. I don't even think it was as close as the scorecards, although I did not keep score. I do think that maybe some of the scores were based on the blood streaming down his face. But the truth of the matter is every time Gonzalez mounted an attack, the Thai fighter countered. There was only one time in the fight where I felt that the Thai fighter was hurt, but he never went down and continued to fight. Chocolatito lost the fight, boys and girls. Also on the undercard, Carlos Cudras won a close fight against David Carmona, 10-round decision. He is hoping to get a rematch with Chocolatito, but now maybe he goes for the Thai fighter. I don't know who would go after that guy. Anyway, I thought that the Cudras fight was lackluster. At least on Cudros' part. He started off pretty quickly, ran out of gas. I thought Carmona might have even squeaked it out. I wouldn't have been disappointed if they scored that fight a draw. Ryan Martin stopped Ryan Cruz in the 8th round, and Andy Lee made a successful return, winning an 8-round decision over Keandre Leatherwood. Also this weekend, Robert Stiglitz and Nikolai Selskala fought to a draw in their EBU light heavyweight fight. One judge had it for Stiglitz, 115-113, and two had it for one had it for Staloka, 114-113, and one had it even at 114 apiece. Also in the light heavyweight division, Dominic Purcell scored a 6-round stoppage over Sammy Enbaum to improve to 24-0 with 9 knockouts. Enbaum drops to 14-1. And Maurice Wack, heavyweight, former world heavyweight title challenger and steroid taker, Maurice Wack improved to 33-2 when he scored a 12-round decision over Erkan Tepper, who drops the second fight of his career. He's now 16-2. On Friday night, we saw a entertaining fight with Amir Mansour beating Travis Kaufman in a heavyweight war to improve to 23 wins, 2 losses, and a draw. Travis Kaufman loses for the second time in his career. He drops to 31-2. The way the judges scored it, 117-111, 115-113 for Mansour, and one judge had it even at 114-114. Michael Conlon made his pro debut a successful one on St. Paddy's Day at Madison Square Garden on Friday. He won a fight against Tim Ibarra, who he stopped. He's now 1-0 with a knockout. Barra drops to 4-5. Zach Dunn, a guy that's been coddled more than a newborn baby, shows why you can't do this, boys and girls. Dave Brophy not only beat him, he knocked him out. Dave Brophy improved to 19 wins, 1 loss, and a draw with only 3 knockouts. And Zach Dunn loses for the first time in his career. He drops to 23-1. This is just goes to show you, you coddle a guy, you put him in with less than stellar opposition. You even handpick a fighter that's got a good record and no knockout punch, and what happens? He gets knocked out. Zach Dunn, exposed. And Hurricane Sammy Valentin improved to 11-0 when he took care of business on Friday night in Florida, taking care of Jesus Alvarez quickly, I might add, 70 seconds, and Alvarez went into that fight at 15-1. Sammy Valentin now catching up with his amateur partner in the pro ranks. So anyway, we'll keep you posted on that. My final thoughts on the Triple G Daniel Jacobs fight is pretty much the same as it was on Saturday night. And on Saturday night, I felt that it was a close fight. Hats off to Daniel Jacobs. I can't give Daniel Jacobs any more credit than we already have. He fought a smart fight, was able to get out of harm's way and keep his hands up. Now, the only guy I can blame is Triple G. Triple G seemed to not go after Daniel Jacobs. He was respecting Jacobs' punching power. And didn't put his foot on the gas. He won a close fight. I felt he won the fight. The knockdown made the difference. But it was a close fight. There's seems to be a split with the opinion on who won that fight. A lot of people that make a or try to make a case for Daniel Jacobs feel that he won the fight, giving him all of the close rounds. Now, on my scorecard, I did make some notes on the close rounds. And in my opinion, the closest rounds on that fight were rounds 1, 2, and 3, and then again in round 8. Now, in those close rounds, so there's 4 rounds. In those close rounds, the first 3, I gave 2 of those 3 to Danny Jacobs. I gave Jacobs the first 2, and I did give the third round to Triple G. In the other close round that I marked on my card was round 8, and I leaned towards Triple G in that round, giving him the 10-9 round. Now, you could make the argument and give those rounds to either or. If you gave all 3 of those rounds, or I should say all 4 of those rounds to Daniel Jacobs, that definitely changes the scorecard in his favor. So, it was a close fight. I mean, what else do you want to add? I mean, it is what it is. To suggest somebody got robbed in that fight is, in my opinion, not correct. I don't think anyone got robbed in that fight. I think it was an extremely close fight, and what we got in the end was an extremely close decision from the judges at hand. I mean. That's pretty much what happened, and that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it, to be honest with you. Now, we got some emails to read, and I'll get started on that right now. We got Dax Khan scheduled to come in a little while. Sal will not be with us today, but we'll be back next time, so don't worry about that. We also were supposed to unveil some new software that would make the video viewing experience much better. We're still having some issues with that, so bear with us on that change. This week's Blast from the Past is, as per request, Carlos Monzon. Don't forget, if you want to request a Blast from the Past, just drop me an email. The email address, now I say it 100 times during the show, but if you want to send us an email or comments or whatever, it's Billy@Talkin. That's TALKIN, and then BOXING.com. There's no G in Talkin. All right, a lot of people send emails to the wrong place, and they're not kind enough to send it back. Got some emails. This one's from Angel from Madison, Wisconsin. He says, Hola, Senor C. I had a great sports weekend. Great March Madness as my Wisconsin Badgers beat Villanova, then followed up with an excellent boxing card. I saw boxing and boxers going at it. Chocolito losing was a shocker, but I had him winning 114-113. The point deduction helped him on my scorecard. This is Angel. He says Triple G Jacobs was a solid match. I had liked seeing a 12-rounder and seeing these two grind it out. It was great to see. I had Triple G winning 115-113 over Jacobs, but Jacobs, I think, came in with no fear and showed how to go toe-to-toe with Triple G and how to box him properly. For boxing overall, we need cards like we had on Saturday. We need more cards with multiple titles on the line. You can say what you want about the fight, but you can't say that Daniel Jacobs went toe-to-toe. He didn't. He fought a smart fight, but did not go toe-to-toe, which, I'm not criticizing him for, because he wouldn't have won a toe-to-toe fight. But he did make it close outboxing. I got another email. This is from my man Blakely. Now, Blakely sent me this email prior to the pay-per-view on Saturday, and he and I went back and forth about it. But let me read the email first. He said, Billy, I can't buy this pay-per-view as much as I like Triple G. This should be an HBO fight. Of course, there's a chance Jacobs could win, but he'll probably be knocked out. And the main interest is how long he lasts. This isn't something I want to pay to find out. I could just watch it later. I think the last pay-per-view main event that was evenly matched was Ward-Kovalev, and that's the only one I think I paid for in quite a while. I'm someone who used to buy every pay-per-view, but the main events are now just based on one guy with a name. Triple G's a 9-1 favorite. In reality, this would normally be considered a tune-up fight. Maybe Jacobs will do a great job, but that's not what I'm anticipating. I would have much rather paid to see Thurman Garcia because that was an evenly matched and significant fight. This fight is only significant because it can help to define Triple G as the best middleweight, which he is already known to be. I've bought pay-per-views based on undercards. If there was a good match or two here, I would. He says if there was a good matchup or two. Am I supposed to pay the price to see Andy Lee fight Leatherwood, who never beats anyone with a winning record? Chocolito, who already beat Kudos, so now they're both fighting separately in mismatches. I'm not saying there can't be a surprise somewhere on this card, but it's not likely. Something else. What do you think of winner-takes-all purses? I would probably never happen. It'll probably never happen, but it may not even be legal. But it would end up. But it would end one-sided fights. Guys could no longer build a record to get a payday against a named guy, and there wouldn't be as many tune-up fights. There probably would be expeditions like there used to be when George Foreman knocked out 4 guys in a night. At least tonight's entire undercard would be made up of exhibition fights, so everyone would know what they're getting. Jacobs would surely take the fight, but probably still get paid for it. Triple G, if he wanted to get paid going forward, he would have to either fight exhibitions until Canelo had the balls to fight him, or he would have to move up in weight. Can you imagine what Mayweather's career would have been like in a winner-take-all boxing world? There would have been no one winning the lottery being picked by him to fight. So here we are after the fight, and like I tried to tell Blakely throughout the day, that he was wrong. I said, this Thai fighter is a live underdog. Blakely said that he was seeing odds of 19-1. And I said, hey, this guy's a live underdog. He's he's an underdog for that many points because no one knows who he is. He's from a place where, unfortunately, we don't get to see. I told Blakely, and he will admit that I said, this guy is a live underdog. It is not a layup fight. I also said that the Triple G Daniel Jacobs fight is a significant fight because it puts the number 1 against the number 2 middleweight in the world. And as it turned out, those fights, both of those fights were extremely entertaining, and the outcomes were thrown up there. As far as Kudos' fight was also a close fight that could have gone any way. So in this particular case, Blakely, I told you so, and I hope he bought it. To me personally, I mean, not only for the show, but I can't not watch a live fight. I can't watch a live fight and you know, in other words, I can't watch it, wait for it to come out, know the result, and then watch the fight. I can't do it. I got to watch it live as it's happening. So as much as I agree to a point that a lot of pay-per-views are BS and don't justify spending the money, I certainly don't think that was the case this past weekend. Now, as far as his suggestion about winner-take-all purses, I love it, but I doubt it would ever happen again. But I think one thing could happen. We could have winner take most of the purse. In other words, have the winner take a larger percentage of the purse. I certainly think that would encourage fighters to fight tougher fights earlier on. You know, the coddling does not help fighters. There are a handful of fighters that do upset the apple cart from time to time, but generally what we have today is promoters and managers trying to maneuver their fighters into positions to make big paydays. The end result sometimes is damaging to the fighter, not giving themselves a chance to get better. Thanks for the email, Blakely. And we got another one here. This is from my man Mike from Michigan. He says, okay, I usually always respect Steve Weisfeld and his scoring ability, and I still do because I had the exact score the way he did. I agree with a lot of people who now say, oh, Triple G is really exposed, blah, blah, blah. I get it. He fought a fighter who took a year to get more money, hired special trainers and all of that, but I still don't believe you can give a round to somebody constantly moving backwards. And Daniel Jacobs' toe-to-toe moments were just flashy Sugar Ray Leonard-like moments when he fought Hagler. His faster hands didn't hurt at all, but they made an impression. I don't score on that BS, though. He says, I score on Triple G snapping Jacobs' head back with his jabs. I mean, rewatch the fight. Watch how Triple G and his jab snaps Jacobs' head back. If anything, Triple G was hurt more by Kell Brook, in my mind. It was close, not because Triple G wanted it close. It was close because Jacobs followed a blueprint effectively. And I agree with that. And I give Daniel Jacobs all the credit in the world for following a game plan that his piss-poor Andre Rozier trainer gave him. Now, the blueprint, everybody knew that the blueprint to beat Triple G was to try to get him out of his game, movement. I mean, Willie Monroe was successful for a little while with movement. Kell Brook was successful for the whole time until that ended. So, you know, Andre Rozier still, in my opinion, is one of the top 3 worst trainers in the sport of boxing. And the other guy that helped Daniel Jacobs is in, I think, might be the number 1 in Virgil Hunter. So, you know, despite Daniel Jacobs' success, I think the credit goes to Daniel Jacobs for listening to a game plan. A lot of fighters don't. But anyway, he says, I'm telling you, rewatch the fight. I've done it 3 times already. In no scoring way could I give the fight to Jacobs. I can't even give him a draw. I had Triple G winning 8-4, including that knockdown, and I come up with the same score every time. And a caller Saturday night asked to give Andre Rozier credit. How? He kept telling him he was winning, and I seriously believe if he would have not kept backing up and had a little more Kell Brook heart in him, he could have taken some of those rounds. When you challenge the best, you take the titles. You're telling me that Jacobs did enough to take any title after coming in looking huge compared to Triple G? And I'll tell you, it's Pleasantville in the murder capital of America, Detroit. I thought it was similar ending to Ward versus Kovalev, except this time the correct man won. And I give no credit to HBO commentary on Saturday, except when Lampley reminded me, oh yeah, Tyson didn't knock out everybody. He had decisions before. He fought tough guys before. That lone comment is the best thing that came out of any of their mouths. The commentary was horrendous on Saturday night. There's no question about it. The interview that Max Kellerman did with the Thai fighter was jokeable. You know, he wanted him to talk about eating garbage out of the dumpster. I mean, come on. You couldn't come up with anything else to say? I mean, Max Kellerman is a professional with doing interviews. I mean, he talks about sports all day long, and he couldn't come up with a better question than that. Is that what the boxing fans really wanted to hear? You know, what kind of, spread he got from eating out at the eaten out of the dumpster. I mean, he wants to know what room Savai was on his menu when he had to go dumpster diving. I mean, come on. Max let me down there. Roy Jones was a joke. And Jim Lampley, he's gotten terrible. I mean, these guys are all, I'd still rather watch the HBO crew over the Showtime crew. I mean, the Showtime crew is just horrendous. It's just that Mauro Ranallo is terrible. But I do give Danny Jacobs all the credit in the world for following his game plan. I had to give Andre Rozier some credit on Saturday night because his team made a showing. But that doesn't change my overall opinion of Rozier or Virgil Hunter or Andre Ward for that matter. Andre Ward, I used to think, was the pound-for-pound top fighter in the world when he was active during the Super Six. Since then, despite his close fight over Kovalev, I agree with Mike that Kovalev won that fight. There's no way Andre Ward won, and to show that he's a pussy now and won't give Kovalev the rematch goes to show you the mentality of a lot of the fighters today. And you can thank Floyd Mayweather for that because they're all copying Floyd. Floyd was successful at it. That doesn't mean everyone else can be. But in any event, thanks for the email, Mike. This one is from my man Coach, and this is the last email I have right now. This one says, hey, Billy C., I know you're aware on this day in boxing history, March 20th, in 1997, one of, if not boxing's greatest body puncher, former two-time world middleweight champion Tony Zale died. But with that in mind, I can't help but wonder what happened to the two Zale title belts that was stolen along with four of Carmen Basilio's championship straps from the Canton. It's not the Canton. It's the Canastota Boxing Hall of Fame, International Boxing Hall of Fame, in November of 2015. Have you heard anything? I haven't, and I know Tony Zale's gorgeous grandniece, who I love that girl, Haley. She's still on a crusade to find out. Listen, I can only have opinions about that, but I to this day feel, in my opinion, was that it was some kind of an inside job. These belts could have only been made sense to steal if you had insurance on it, and the only people that had insurance on it was the International Boxing Hall of Fame themselves. If you were going to steal these belts with the thought of selling them, well, then the person that purchased them is either a lowlife that doesn't care that they bought stolen belts and have them in a private stash somewhere that's valuable to that person only. Really, it remains to be seen. And to be honest with you, the only people that really cared about those belts that had more value than what they were worth was the Zale family themselves and the Basilio families. So I don't know. It is a mystery. Anyway, he says, in light of the Triple G Jacobs fight, even with Jacobs slightly landing the higher number of power punches, when I added in Triple G's effective aggressiveness in those close rounds, Triple G's fourth round 10-8 knockdown and a thudding almost 4-1 jab advantage, even in my best Robin Hood performance, I found it hard to give Jacobs the win, especially on the premise that he did better. I agree, with Coach on this one. I don't think that Jacobs won this fight. I do think he made it close, but I don't think he won the fight. He says, keep up the post-fight shows. Everyone gets around the computer after our fight parties. Are there still fight parties? I'm glad to hear that people are still doing fight parties. I know that that would be something that we used to love to do with the big fights. Before I was doing the show, I used to have people over and come over and watch the fights and all that happy stuff. So yeah, I'm glad to hear that people are still doing fight night parties. But anyway, thanks for the emails. Don't forget to drop us an email. Feel free, Billy at Talkin' Boxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. No matter how you look at it, I really think that this fight was a good one. The card was a good one. But I still had Triple G winning the fight. I don't discredit Daniel Jacobs at all. As a matter of fact, his overall value has gone up, in my opinion. So if you have any final thoughts on this card, we got Dax Khan scheduled to call in a few minutes, but if you can get a call in right now, I'm looking for some up-to-date thoughts, especially after you've had a chance to let the fight sink in. 845-228-8710. If you want to beat Dax's call in, give me your thoughts on the fight now that you've had some time for it to, settle in, digest, however you want to word it. My feeling is the same. Some of the close rounds could have gone to Daniel Jacobs. I gave them to Triple G because I felt that Triple G was trying to press the action and did land the harder shots, although Daniel Jacobs deserves all the credit in the world for making it a good fight. Now, the fight that I disagree with some of the public opinion is the Gonzalez Ruing Versailles fight. I thought Ruing Versailles beat the snot out of Gonzalez. I didn't see Gonzalez hurting him. I do agree, which I have a tendency rarely to do lately, but I do agree with the comments that Max Kellerman made that maybe Gonzalez shouldn't have moved up. He probably would have been better off in the flyweight division, make people come to him, but instead he moved up to take a challenge, to prove he was great, and that's what all great fighters do, something Floyd Mayweather does not do, never did, and that's why I have such a hard time respecting his record, and I definitely will throw out all respect for him should he, or should I say when he gets in the ring with Conor McGregor. That fight seems like that's going to happen, and if it was as an exhibition, I'd be the first one to buy it. I have no problem with Floyd fighting Conor McGregor as an exhibition, but if it counts as a real fight, which would continue to pad Floyd's record, that I have a problem with, because retiring with 49-0 and possibly 50-0 happens to be a sacred record in the sport of boxing. Now, the asterisk next to that sacred record is there's been many, many, many fighters that surpassed 50-0 before losing for the first time. The asterisk here is they didn't retire. That's the only issue. In the other cases, they should have not retired. If they retired, they would have broke the record. Instead, they didn't retire, and they went on to win many, many more. Floyd Mayweather is attempting to, win his 50th win against a guy who's never boxed around. That's my issue there. I feel that I feel that he's screwing up the whole thing. I think that in my opinion, a true champion takes challenges and proves they're the best. If Floyd Mayweather throughout his whole career, took these great challenges and fought the best out there, I would be his biggest fan. But to fight safety first all the time and handpick fighters and all that happy stuff, I have a hard time giving the credit. Like I said, if the Conor McGregor Floyd Mayweather fight is an exhibition, I'll be the first to buy it and I'll be the first to applaud it. But as a real fight, I can't see it happening. Anyway, joining us right now with his final thoughts on Triple G, Daniel Jacobs, and what the social media world is saying is my main man, Dax Khan. What's up, Dax?
Good morning. How's everybody doing on this fine Monday?
It's going to be nice here, so that's a good sign.
I guess you, since there is no Sal today, so I guess not everybody. So how's Billy doing this fine Monday morning?
Well, I just told you, Sal's, he's working hard. He's, becoming a movie star, so he's on a set right now, and he'll be back next time. But before you give us the lowdown on what social media is talking about, have you changed your outlook? Have you had a chance to watch the fight again?
Yes. I always watch the fight again the next day because, you always have that, emotions are high right after a fight. And sometimes during the fight you miss something, whether or not there's somebody watching the fight with you or you turn away for a second, or a case like me or you, preparing for a post-fight show. So I watched it again. And my decision hadn't changed. I still had Gennady Golovkin winning 114-112.
Yeah, that's what I had it. What did I score it? I had it 114-113.
And actually, I had it a little bit high. I had the gap a little bit bigger on Saturday night originally. I think I had Golovkin maybe by three rounds. But my final score when I watched it again yesterday was 114-112 for Golovkin.
Well, he. How did you end up with 112?
The knockdown, in my opinion, was really the difference. And, I actually, a couple of the rounds ended up swinging over into Jacobs' favor. That tightened it up because, I gave him that benefit of the doubt where, the rounds when neither guy did much.
Did you score any even?
No, I didn't score any even. I don't score even rounds.
All right, no, because I gave the 10-8 round and I ended up with 114-113. You know what it is? I had it. I know what must have happened. You must have scored 7-5 rounds. I had six. I had 6 apiece, and then the knockdown gave it the extra point.
There was a few rounds where I'm a guy who believes in the effective aggressiveness. Even if it's where both guys aren't doing much, I will score more in the favor of the guy that's pushing the action. He's setting the pace, and he's making the other guy work harder. Not chasing the guy, or the guy's not running, but he's forcing the guy to switch his game plan, which is what Triple G did to Jacobs in a few of those rounds. Even when Jacobs was boxing well, Jacobs had to fight differently, and he wasn't able to put much of an offense on there because he was, strictly just making sure that he stayed out of trouble. So the fact that Triple G was continuously pressing and Jacobs was going backwards, even though those moments when nobody was doing anything, you had to give it to Golovkin. The old rule is, you have to, with those close rounds, score in favor of the champion.
Right. Well, I score them as I see them, and I still had Triple G ahead. What's going on in social media?
Well, people, there's a lot of things that are just unacceptable as usual. Social media, I've said this for a long time. It's killing boxing. It really is. The things that come out afterwards. They're just some of the one expression I hate all the. I truly hate, not as a pun, but I hate the expression called haters. That's something that children use, kids use. I tell my son all the time, it's a ridiculous phrase. But grown people out there act like that. As I stated on Saturday, some of the things that, the bitterness because Daniel Jacobs lost. There was someone out there who actually said, so Triple G goes 12 rounds. He ends up getting smoked by Daniel Jacobs. The judges give him the robbery decision, and now all of a sudden he's a great human because he boxes. He's an animal. He's an ignorant beast, and just things like that, and insults on the family. And people were doing the same thing with Daniel Jacobs. In truth, what happened is, Bill, before that fight took place, people had the outcome solidified in their minds. Either they wanted Daniel Jacobs or they wanted Triple G to win. Everybody who you asked had the same reasons. Jacobs would lose because he wouldn't be able to take the power of Golovkin. due to his KO loss in the past to Pirog. Triple G, he was slipping. He was showing that in the Kell Brook fight. And, people wanted to see this knockout. They didn't want to see a world-class boxing match is what we got. Both guys out there had to go and adjust their normal game plan if they expected to see that last round, and that's what they did. And you need to be an elite fighter to be able to change what has gotten you so far in order to make sure that you get that win in, probably your most significant bout of your career thus far, which I believe for the both of them this probably was. And how do you complain about something like that? I don't understand, and this is what social media does in terms of hurting the sport. This is because we have too many fight fans. We don't have enough boxing fans anymore.
Nah, it's bad, and it's everything now with a lot of young fans becomes a racial issue, and I can't stand it. It has nothing to do with the color of the skin or religious beliefs or anything like that, but yet they make it out to be like that.
Because it's the thing to do. That's what it is.
It's just ignorance, because I got. The only reason why Daniel Jacobs didn't win is because he's black. Of course, it's because he's black BS, which I can't stand. Listen, it was a close fight. I think Daniel Jacobs, as far as his overall, my thoughts of him overall have risen in a loss. I feel that both fighters got a win in a sense, because I think that Daniel Jacobs' value, in my opinion, went up. And Triple G, got the win on in the books, So I don't think there was really a loser in the fight, I really don't. I would have liked to have seen a little more, action, maybe sense of urgency from Triple G's corner. I feel that, he didn't get much instruction, which where does a trainer come in? As far as Daniel Jacobs' trainer, I still think he's the top 3 worst. And, to give him credit, I give him credit because they devised an obvious game plan that, Ray Charles could see. And I think the credit still goes to Daniel Jacobs because he followed it. How hard is it to follow a game plan when you're in the heat of battle? It's very hard. And Daniel Jacobs did that on his own. So another thing I feel, Dax, is Andre Rozier telling Daniel Jacobs every round that he's winning the fight, that he's going to have all the belts, that he's that overconfidence doesn't help a fighter.
No, it does not. Some of the rounds, Triple G, because Daniel Jacobs was so much bigger than Golovkin, and because he had that long reach, you could see in the first 2 rounds when they exchanged some jabs that Triple G realized, okay, this guy's getting there first. Jacobs is not a huge puncher. He's a better than average puncher, but he's not a huge puncher. Despite the fact, since his KO loss up until Saturday, he has stopped everybody, and he stopped them early. But the size helps that a lot. I was really against the fact, their strategy of coming in so heavy on fight night, and not because it was Daniel Jacobs, just because boxing as a whole speaks out against that all the time. But all of a sudden it becomes a brilliant plan when you're going against a puncher like Triple G. That's not what you do. You're supposed to, if you can't make that weight and be within a reasonable rehydration limit up until the fight time. I don't care how far advanced the weigh-in was. Then something. This isn't where you go, where you belong. It's not good for you. Forget about your opponent. It's not good for you. And those are the things that we see a lot of people today, because of the politics in boxing, and because a lot of these big fights aren't being made, they're risking and doing things like this, and in fear that I have to take every sort of advantage aside from what I already have. This way, I can do anything to take away not what my opponent is going to bring to me, but what little bits that the judges may see, and the judges may overcompensate that makes something look worse than what it is. For example, a guy gets hit and then they make a little grimace, and you have a lot of these judges, and especially the guys at the announce tables who want to over-dramatize everything. It's like a sewing circle. Somebody gets hit, and they make a little bit of a roll of the eyes, and all of a sudden, oh, they're hurt bad. They're hurt bad. They may not recover for that. No, they're hurt bad because you know what? The other guy stepped on his toe and he bit his lip at the same time. You moron. But, that's the way boxing is swayed. These guys did, exactly what they're supposed to do. Triple G, it doesn't matter what point in time in his career. Kell Brook is just a naturally faster guy with faster feet. Triple G would have always looked slower. It had nothing to do with the age. But, they made such a big thing about that. Daniel Jacobs, they always made such a big thing about Daniel Jacobs' chin. Daniel Jacobs' chin is really not that bad. They do that against anybody who suffers a KO loss. But, Bill, if the chin was always that bad and the KO loss always meant that, a fighter's chin isn't going to last and isn't going to get them through the big moments, guys like Henry Armstrong would have never became an all-time great. There's a guy who lost his first professional bout. I think he goes 130-something more fights before he loses again by KO. Then he goes another 40 or 50 before he retires, claims 3 world titles in 3 divisions, and when there was only 8. And you know something? This is a guy who started off with a knockout. They emphasize too much. They use this as a selling point, and the fans buy into it. And because what is already predetermined by the media, or should I say by the people who are promoting and the network that's broadcasting, doesn't happen, the fans, in their minds, they're screaming, something's wrong. This is what they told us is going to happen. If that makes any sense.
Well, I think in Daniel Jacobs' case, I think what we could say about the chin, and I agree with you, he's shown that his chin is pretty decent. I mean, he's had a couple of flash knockdowns in his career, with the exception of when he was really hurt in his loss to Priog. But I think you could also give him credit for tightening up his defense. He's seemingly rolling with punches now. I think he sees punches coming at him better, and it gives him a position to handle it on its way in, whether he moves his head slightly or moves his body slightly. I mean, the punches aren't landing as flush as they seemed to do years ago. One thing you keep bringing up, and I guess this is the one thing that we're going to disagree on, and that's the weight. The weight issue, the way the rules, and you have to leave out the agreement. Maybe Triple G shouldn't have, in hindsight, agreed to an early weigh-in, or whatever the case was. They had the weigh-in the day before, like what was planned. It was, run by the New York State Athletic Commission, and Daniel Jacobs made the weight. Now, Canelo Alvarez, Julio Cesar Chavez, both junior and senior, traditionally have been able to rehydrate 15 pounds or more the night of a fight. So I think that this was just a case where, he took advantage of the rules, and we can't criticize him for that. But one thing I think it shows, and it should, be obvious to anyone that watches this fight or even saw the two fighters next to each other, is the size difference. Triple G, even though Floyd Mayweather has successfully made the uneducated, or I should say uneducated in the terms of boxing sense, young fan believe that Triple G is so much bigger and that's why Floyd doesn't have to fight him. I think it was pretty obvious to see that Daniel Jacobs was way bigger than Triple G, and Triple G is not a big middleweight. He's just not.
It's wrong. It was wrong when those fighters did it. Floyd Mayweather, you mentioned him. It was wrong when he went out there and he fought Juan Manuel Marquez and agreed catchweight, where Marquez actually skipped the whole division when he had only had one bout prior at 135 pounds, and he did the catchweight at 143, I believe it was, and Mayweather didn't come in. He didn't even bother to come in to make that weight, and he ended up paying Marquez some sort of compensation. So right there, you know what? Gee, this is that it was wrong then. It was wrong when Chavez Jr. and we crucified them. So you know something, this as a strategy, you don't applaud that strategy, because you know what? It's not okay for one guy, but not smart for several other guys, or it's several other guys. By doing that, that makes them lazy, or that makes them taking advantage. If this was your plan in the whole from the start, that's fine. But you know something, don't just wait that, unveil that as a secret weapon, and just totally just wait until the day of the fight and say, you know what, I'm not even going to step on the scale for that. That was our plan all along. To me, that's as the expression goes, that's dirty pool, more or less.
Well, I think that there's an easy fix to it, Dax, and we could end it all.
Same day weigh-ins,
exactly.
And that's just the same thing there, Bill. You know what? If you're blowing up that much overnight and you're able to step in the ring and you're able to go 12 rounds, then you know what? That's not your division, because on the same day weigh-in, you aren't going to make 160 pounds and be able to go inside of that ring and perform for 12 rounds.
Exactly.
Let's be honest about that.
And
it's not your division.
And I think that even though it's all relative, because each guy has that opportunity, we're not fighting in real divisions anymore because of that rehydration. And some bodies can rehydrate better than others. End of story. So you're getting an advantage of something that you're born with versus working at. I think that same day weigh-ins should be in effect. They should do a same day weigh-in in the morning, and then that's the end of that. If a fight is canceled because a fight doesn't make weight, a fighter doesn't make weight or something, I mean, an easy remedy would be to have a backup fighter there. Ready to go in the event, or they just, move the co-main event to the main event. TV and the contracts is what dictates these day before. In case the fight gets canceled, they have something else to, submit for programming, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm with you. I think same day weigh-ins should come back. Any other things you want to pass along in terms of social media for this fight?
Sure. Yes, absolutely. Coach brought up a valid point inside the chat room before he came on about Rungvisy. How his name was actually changed from Wixlick Wanjek. On the night of the fight, I was on social media and I'm posting, talking about the fight between him and Gonzalez. And somebody literally trolled me in stating how stupid I was. And that's what they called me stupid. They told me how I knew nothing about the sport because I don't even know who Roman Gonzalez is fighting. The person's name is not Rungvisy, it's Wangit. And they not only did they continue to pester me about it during that fight, but they went into it during the Triple G and the Jacobs fight, insisting that I admit that I had made this mistake. And I'm going, well, if it's not just me, obviously, you know what, it's the sanctioning bodies, it's also the Showtime, so listen, don't sit there and try and educate me on something that you know nothing of. Why? Because you looked at it on BoxRec, and that's the only reason why they would know. Very little people knew anything about Rungvisy before he stepped into that ring, and they knew nothing about him during the fight other than going on BoxRec. Yet I had seen him in action in the past. I've seen his fight when he won the title against Yota Sato. I've seen him against Jose Salgado. I actually seen the fight between him and Carlos Cudras. This was a guy who was, more than a live underdog. This is a guy who actually at one point in time owned the title that him and Roman Gonzalez were fighting for. He was a big guy. He's not the most mobile guy, but he's a strong guy. I guess if you wanted to compare him to somebody, you could sort of say he's a super flyweight version of Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., where, he's a guy who's just going to keep coming, and if you can't keep him off you, he's going to keep coming. He's going to keep taking that punishment, and he's going to be very physical during that time. And that's exactly what happened. And Roman Gonzalez just couldn't overcome that size advantage. And, the only reason why Carlos Cudras won that fight is because when they stopped it in the 8th round, he was ahead on the scorecards, because Carlos Cudras was very close to becoming the same, having a similar ending to what Roman Gonzalez had in there, because he was wearing out quickly in that fight. This is just a guy who's unknown here in the States, and again, that's something else that, either you're a boxing fan or you're a fight fan, because fight fans only know the big names who's on TV all the time. They don't know the whole sport. They don't bother making sure that they do the research on fighters that they don't know anything about, if anything, just to sit there and get an idea of what this person might be able to bring to the ring and what to expect respect. So this way, later on, you can say to yourself, or prior, as you said earlier, I believe it was Blakely who had mentioned that, he was having a hard time buying that pay-per-view. That could sit there and tell you, you know what? Looking at this guy's history and looking at who he's went against, I want to see him. And you know what? That's going to edge me to buy this pay-per-view. Or you can sit there and say, you know what? This isn't worth buying. Who's on there other than Fighter A and Fighter B that I know that might be worth it? Maybe later on when I get that replay, we'll see if it's any good. So, that frustrates me about boxing. It really bothers me these days. I just don't understand the ignorance of it.
Well, I think that people just, they believe the press clippings. I told Blakely that this kid from Thailand is a live underdog, 19-1. Blakely was saying my guy had it at 15. I would have won if I would have put $100 on him just for kicks. I would have won $1,500 for a $100 bet, and I didn't. But I feel that Chocolatito lost that fight. I mean, and I do think that the blood from the unintentional headbutts or intentional, however you want to look at it, made a difference. It seemed, I said it Saturday night, from the minute that he was walking out, he's looking up at the sky, and the idiots on HBO's pay-per-view team are saying, oh, he's looking up at the jumbotron to see how bad his cut is. That's not what he was doing. I would be shocked to think that he was looking at the jumbotron to see how bad his cut is. I mean, he could tell how bad his cut is. It's on his face. He could ask his guy. He's looking up because he was looking for guidance from his longtime trainer who passed away. I'm telling you, mentally, that hurt Gonzalez. Not only mentally, and the fact that he was in with a physically bigger man, I think that he clearly showed he was missing something, Dax. I saw it. There's only been a handful of times that I've seen a fighter walk out and knew that they were going to have trouble, if not lose. The other one that comes to mind is or the opposite, if they have that positive look. When Michael Spinks was walking out to fight Tyson, I knew he was done. And when Evander Holyfield was walking out to fight Tyson, he had this unusual sense of he knew something that everyone else didn't. He had this confidence level that just, I remember, because I'm a Tyson fan, I remember saying, this guy's, something's going to happen today. And I said that same thing to myself when I watched Gonzalez walk out. There was something not right with him mentally, and then physically he took a beating.
And that's, you could be right on all occasions. I didn't say that I thought Rungvisy was going to win. I just said that, this isn't a guy who was a nobody. This wasn't, what a lot of people would consider a showcase fight against somebody that was there just to make him look good. And all of a sudden, this big upset came off. This is a guy who not too long ago had this exact title. So and Roman Gonzalez, we've seen it in the Kudras fight that, 115 pounds is a little too big for him. And the pressure, you mentioned Max Kellerman before, it doesn't really help. Aside from what you were stating, this being, I think, this might be the second fight without his longtime trainer. But, when you're in the dressing room and you're sitting there putting the pressure, and the look on Gonzalez's face when Kellerman said it, kind of told the story, and Kellerman just continued to push the issue when he said, he brings up Alexis Arguello, another guy who was an important part of Roman Gonzalez's life, and goes, oh, you run better than Alexis Arguello. And, you kind of put the guy on the spot there, and, he was probing him for an answer, wanting him to say, yes, I'm better than Arguello was. And, really, it's like, Max, this has become, tabloid journalism. I had no idea that Kellerman was getting a gig with TMZ.
No, listen, that whole dumpster diving thing was pretty sad, I thought, but...
Just, let me ask your opinion on this real quick. And, considering how, what lately has become all the backyard, we used to call them the Sunday armchair quarterbacks, now we call them the virtual boxing experts out there who know everything, and they always want to come back with the old Mayweather catch line, YDSAB, we know what that means. But, somebody who I know recently, I'm not going to mention any names, was offered a title fight at the last minute. And they weren't prepared for the fight, but they knew that they have an opportunity probably to face the winner. So they turned down this fight because they had to travel someplace where they knew that, getting decision was going to be very difficult because it was, not only were they traveling to another country, but, they have no time to train, and, so this was just a bad idea, and they declined the fight. And there was somebody out there who literally, on social media had the nerve to say, well, something that's pathetic. What kind of fighter are you? You should be ashamed of yourself. I'm ashamed of you. I'm not trying to disrespect you. All I'm saying is that's not how champions go about it. So I don't know why you're involved in this sport. You're a disgrace.
Well, what do they say about Mayweather when Floyd has to have everything in his favor, otherwise he doesn't fight? That's okay?
And, sometimes, and my reply to that was, well, you're not trying to be disrespectful, but you know what? Obviously, the situation isn't optimal. This is a bad situation, knowing that you're going into someplace not at your maximum, not at your peak, and then more than likely, you're not going to win a decision. So, something, it's just sometimes you just got to say no. And then, this person wanted to reply to me, well, that's not what a real fighter is. And then he wanted to tell me, the person comes back and he says to me, why don't you go and Google Benny Briscoe and see how it's done, and you take fights at the last moment, and then you'll learn something about boxing. And after that, the person blocked me on social media. And this is the mentality, and this is a grown person. This wasn't a kid. This is what I mean about the mentality out there. The fight fans are good for business. Fight fans are great for business because they buy the pay-per-views and they help keep the social media world going, which also is good for the business of boxing. But you know what? They're bad for boxing in terms of the fighters because no matter how good you do, you're never going to get enough credit. Daniel Jacobs and Triple G didn't get enough credit for Saturday, regardless of who won. And, it's killing the sport of boxing. There's not enough boxing people out there. There's plenty of fight fan people out there. And, you want to complain about your $64 or $69 for the pay-per-view. Take $20, go to the local bar on a Friday or Saturday night, and I guarantee you see 2, 3, or 4 fights. Somebody gets knocked out, and you know what? You get to go home early, and you get to sleep that off, and the only thing you have to worry about is a headache instead of a depleted bank account for not being satisfied that you didn't get what you were hoping for.
No, you know what? The fans drive the sport, any sport, and they continue to accept less than stellar matches and then complain about good ones. Who knows? They're in the driver's seat. But Dax, I appreciate your work with the social media, and we'll look forward to you later in the week, brother.
All right, I'll talk to you then. Everybody enjoy the day.
That's Dax Khan. You can check out his column up on BillyCBoxing.com. But anyway, listen, on Wednesday, we'll have Boxing Hall of Famer Larry Hazard join us. I'll get his thoughts on the fight between Triple G and Daniel Jacobs. And, of course, the upset loss that was handed to Roman Gonzalez. We also have our blast from the past, which is a good one. Carlos Monzon, another request from one of our viewers and listeners. If you have a blast from the past request, just drop me an email, billy@talkinboxing. That's TalkinBoxing.com. And Carlos Monzon, one of the greatest middleweights of all time. And this particular request also included utilizing the Title Bout Championship computer game and some other potential matchups that Carlos Monzon never got to fight because he was taken from us early in his life. When he was on furlough from a prison sentence for murdering his girlfriend. But that's a whole nother story that we'll get into on Wednesday. And don't forget, Fridays are our fan-driven Fridays. We will keep you guys up to date. I do want to apologize for some sound issues that you may be experiencing. We are in the process of updating some of our broadcast equipment. And it's going to, in the long run, when all these bugs are ironed out, you guys are going to love the presentation. So just hang in there with us until we get everything set. So until then, I would hope that you guys are going to tune in next time. Same bat channel. Until then, ciao, baby.